Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of a black comedy from Argentina, Spanish language, English subs, released in the year 2012, directed by Martin Salinas, and this movie is called Neon Hombre Mas. So the story is Neon Hombre Mas, which I think translates to Or a Man More. You've got a couple who are driving through the very remote countryside in the north of Argentina, and they have a person in their trunk. So basically the person in the trunk is going to make them a lot of money because it's a very well-known person, and that they're going to basically try and extort money. So they get there, they're travelling through the countryside, and all of a sudden they have a problem where they crash their car. So things are not going well because they realise the guy in the trunk is in fact dead. Now that's not a spoiler because this happens right at the start. So they're panicking. They're thinking that their airtight plan has gone haywire and they don't know what to do. So the car is out of order. They're going along the countryside and they come across this very remote restaurant slash house. So they get to the restaurant, they ask the guy who runs it, or who doesn't run it, but he's the cook. He's also an iguana hunter. They ask him if they can use his phone. And then, so the young guy who's working there says yes, it won't be a problem. But then things go even worse when there's an accident that happens. So the female panics. She doesn't know what to do, and then all of a sudden the guy who is the cook, he becomes involved in this story, and then the people who are going to be arriving at this restaurant anytime soon, they're also going to be intertwined in the story as well. So it's a comedy of errors where a situation starts off as small and then it just blows out into massive proportions. So what happens at that point on and who makes it out of here is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Neon Hombre Mas. I wanted to like this movie. I thought it had a really good idea. These movies that have been done before where you've got just a very small problem, then all of a sudden it's just magnified to out of control proportions. And I thought it sounded really cool. And it's a black comedy. I love the Argentine humour. So I had a massive expectation coming into it. Now it's not a mega low budget movie, but it is low budget, and it does rely on basically one setting. So if you don't like that type of film, Neon Hombre Mas is not going to appeal to you. But I just thought it had the grounds to be a really good film. The characters, they all seemed larger than life. So after seeing the trailer, I thought, okay, this is going to be good. But unfortunately, after seeing this film, I was really disappointed because nothing in Neon Hombre Mas seems to have been delved in with a little bit of depth. It feels like it's been skimmed over, and the director didn't know what he wanted to do with the film. Now you've got characters, as I said, who appear larger than life, but none of them have gone into, and you don't know who the main character is. So if you don't know who the main character is, the focus of the film is not on one particular person. Now the problem with that is that at least with one main person, you can get some insight into this guy, and then the other characters play off that main character. But in this film, it feels like everyone has the same sort of runtime, and the director doesn't go into depth into any of the characters, so you don't really get a sense of what's going on. You get a vague description of everything that is happening in the film. So you've got the guy in the trunk, you're wondering who he is. He's powerful, he's important, but it kind of feels like it forgets about that. And then it goes into the guy who hunts iguanas, who's also the cook in the restaurant. He makes a lot of comparisons with human beings and iguanas that I thought was interesting, but it doesn't go into it enough. It just feels like it's skimming over the surface. It feels like the director didn't know exactly what he wanted to do with the film. And it also felt like he was a little bit worried about going into depth. It felt like a guy who's got some material and he thinks, well, what do I do with it? Basically having a little bit of stage fright, not knowing how to capitalise on what was a good premise, what was a good recipe, but the actual end result didn't match the hype that the story creates. And so that to me was the biggest disappointment. Now, there is humour in the film that doesn't work. I didn't think it was very funny at all. It had me smiling a few times but never really laughing. Whether that's lost in translation, I don't know, but I have found other Argentine films very funny, so I don't know, maybe this one just didn't get translated very well. But for me, I just thought the comedy didn't work. There are some black moments, but as I said, it doesn't really make you laugh, so it's not real black humour. It's just a movie that had a lot of potential, but unfortunately the director didn't realise that potential. He didn't put any depth to the film, so it feels like a very hollow experience. It feels like an experience by the end of it that you feel that, yeah, I should have been watching something a lot more than what I actually did. I thought the ending was very abrupt. It felt like they just ran out of money and had to cut it there and then. And I just thought that some of the ideas and the formula that the film had, it could have gone on to something really good. But unfortunately the movie, it halts itself and it doesn't really go into the areas that could have made it a very good experience. So I was very disappointed with Ni Un Hombre Mas, and as a result I'm only going to give this one 1.5 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies and I'll see you later.